Who let the janitor in here? Get that idiot out before he breaks something. Evelyn Drake said it without looking up from her tablet. The room went quiet. 20 executives turned their heads toward the door. The janitor froze with a trash bag in his hand. His badge said Caleb Ortiz. His uniform was stained. His shoes were wet from the hallway. Nobody spoke for a few seconds. Evelyn looked up and sighed. Are you deaf or just stupid? This is a board meeting, not a storage closet. She pointed at the metal block sitting on the table. You even know what that is? Caleb didn't answer. He looked at the engine that had stopped working 10 minutes earlier. It was the company's prototype, the Nova Drive X. $2.3 million in cost, for years in development, and it failed again. Evelyn pushed her chair back. That machine has beaten every engineer in this company. MIT, Stanford, you name it. They couldn't fix it. But apparently, the cleaning crew wants to try. A few people laughed. The kind of laugh that sounds safe because it copies the boss. Evelyn stood up. Put the trash bag down, she said. You smell like oil and sweat. God, it's disgusting. She walked closer, stopping 2 steps away. You work maintenance, right? You fix toilets, not engines. She looked around the table. But fine, let's make this interesting. She pointed at him again. You fix this engine before sunrise, and I'll promote you. Senior engineer. But when you fail, and security will walk you out. You won't even make it to the elevator. Lars Becker, the German investor sitting at the far end of the table, leaned back and said, I want to see that. Evelyn smirked. Perfect. You'll get a show. She turned to the head of security. Let him stay. But if he touches anything before I say so, break his badge and throw him out. Caleb set the trash bag on the floor. You sure you want that? He asked quietly. Evelyn's smile faded a little. What did you just say? I said you've tried everything else, he replied. Might as well let someone who hasn't failed yet. The room stayed silent. No one laughed this time. Evelyn looked him up and down like she was checking if he was serious. You think you're the hero now? He said no. I think I can hear what's wrong with it. Her laugh was short and cold. You can hear it? Were you some kind of engine whisperer? She looked at the engineers. Unbelievable. MIT degrees everywhere. And I'm surrounded by circus acts. Tyler Grant, the lead engineer, whispered, This isn't worth the time. Evelyn cut him off. You already wasted 6 weeks. Maybe watching a janitor fail will remind you what real pressure looks like. She turned back to Caleb. Fine. You get 1 night. No one helps you. No access to files, no lab, no tech team. Just you and that engine. Caleb nodded once. Deal. Evelyn picked up her tablet and started walking to the door. If you scratch it, I'll make sure you never work in the city again. Lars Becker said something to his assistant in German and smiled. The investors looked entertained. Evelyn stopped at the door. Start cleaning when you're done pretending to be an engineer, she said, then left. The room emptied. Chairs moved. Conversation started again, quiet and fast. People said things like he's done, and he won't last an hour. When the last person left, Caleb was alone with the machine. The lights were still bright. The air conditioner hummed. He walked closer to the table. The Nova Drive X looked like something from a lab, not a factory. Steel, glass, and wires. The screen showed an error message, harmonic interference detected. He read it twice, then pressed a few buttons to reset the diagnostics. The same code came back. He leaned down and listened to the sound of the cooling fans. He didn't talk. He didn't move for a while. Then he opened the side panel and checked the data port. Someone had left the connection loose. He tightened it, then stepped back. The engine blinked once and shut down again. He looked around the empty boardroom. The smell of coffee and metal filled the air. He went to the corner, grabbed his tool bag from the cleaning cart, and came back. He took out a flashlight, pointed it at the lower casing, and started checking every bolt. A few were slightly off-center. He noted it mentally, didn't write anything down. He powered the system again. It ran for 15 seconds, then stopped. Same error. He looked at the temperature logs. Overheating after 14 minutes, every single test. He scrolled through the data until he found the calibration sheet. The units didn't match. Some lines used inches, others millimeters. He stared at it for a few seconds. Then he whispered, There it is. He checked the manual again. It confirmed what he saw. The machine was built in Munich, but the software was written in California. Two different measurement systems. The math didn't align. That meant the AI was adjusting based on wrong tolerance values, which caused harmonic stress. It wasn't a mystery. It was bad communication. He looked at the door, made sure no one was there, then restarted the system. He adjusted the calibration manually, line by line. It took him 30 minutes. When he finished, he turned the power back on. The engine started, steady and smooth. It ran longer than before, almost a minute. Then the same error appeared again, but the reading changed. He smirked quietly. Progress. He cleaned the table, left the system open, and turned off the lights. Before leaving, he looked back at the machine once more. It was still humming slightly, like it wasn't done. He walked out, locked the door behind him, and went back to the janitor's closet. He washed his hands, took off his gloves, and sat on the stool. He didn't look tired, just focused. He checked the clock. 5 hours until sunrise. In another room, Evelyn was still awake. She was on a call with Lars Becker, promising results by morning. She didn't mention who was working on it. She said the engineers were close. Lars didn't care who fixed it, as long as it ran. Evelyn ended the call and poured herself another glass of wine. She didn't know the janitor had already found the problem. Caleb showed up at 6 in the morning. The hallways were empty. Security guards nodded, but didn't ask questions. He carried his tool bag, the same one everyone in the building thought only held a mop and rags. The boardroom door was still locked. He swiped his badge, stepped in, and turned on the lights. The engine sat in the middle of the table exactly as he left it. Same smell, same silence. He set his coffee down and opened the panel again. The log files confirmed his adjustment from last night had worked partially. The readings were cleaner, but still not stable. The calibration ran smooth for 13 minutes before the AI system overcompensated. He watched the numbers scroll down the screen and made note. He replaced a sensor cable that looked burned. It wasn't a cause, but it helped. Then he removed one of the brackets near the cooling system and adjusted the torque. He ran the system again. 14 minutes. Same shutdown. He didn't swear or get angry. He just exhaled through his nose and looked at the numbers. Everything pointed to one thing: harmonic mismatch. The AI and the engine were out of sync by less than 1%. Enough to kill efficiency. Enough to ruin contracts. At 7:30, the first executives started showing up. They saw him in the boardroom, didn't say anything, just stared through the glass. A few of them laughed quietly while walking to the elevator. Someone took a photo. Caleb ignored them. He kept working, focused on the sound. At a certain frequency, the motor rattled like something inside wanted to shake free. He marked a point. He disconnected the AI module and tried running the mechanical sequence manually. It worked better without the software. That told him everything. The problem wasn't in the machine, it was in the instructions. By 8:15, Evelyn Drake arrived. She stepped off the elevator with a coffee in her hand and the kind of confidence that comes from never being questioned. When she saw him inside the boardroom, she stopped walking. "You're still here," she said through the glass. She walked in. "You know the test at 10, right? What exactly have you done besides make a mess?" Caleb didn't look up. "I found the problem," he said. "You didn't find anything," she replied. "If it were that simple, the engineers would have done it weeks ago." "They didn't look at the right thing," he said. She laughed once, short and dry. "That's what they all say before I fire them." She stood next to him, crossed her arms, and looked at the screen. 14 minutes and 30 seconds, he said. "That's where it dies every time. Not random. That's the system fighting itself. And what are you going to do about it?" "Fix the conversation between them." She frowned. Between what? The AI and the engine. Before she could respond, Lars Becker and his team of investors entered the room. They were early. Evelyn straightened up immediately, her voice switching tone. "Good morning, gentlemen. You're just in time for the final test." Lars nodded and looked at the machine. "Is it ready?" Evelyn smiled like she controlled everything. "Of course. Our team has been working through the night." Caleb didn't correct her. He was busy tightening the last connection. Lars glanced at him. "That the janitor from last night?" Evelyn's smile froze. "Temporary technical support," she said quickly. Lars raised an eyebrow, but didn't comment. Dr. Sophia Lang walked in next. She was there as a technical observer. She had white hair, sharp eyes, and a habit of saying only what mattered. "Who's running the test?" she asked. Evelyn hesitated. "He is," Lars said, pointing at Caleb. Evelyn's face tightened. "Fine, but let's keep it professional." Dr. Lang nodded. "Always." Caleb finished checking the lines. He turned to Lars. "I'm ready." Lars nodded once. "Start it." Caleb powered on the engine. The sound filled the room instantly, low and heavy. Everyone watched the monitors. The readings climbed, stabilized, and held steady. 3 minutes. 6 minutes. 10 minutes. Evelyn shifted on her feet. 12 minutes. The investors leaned closer. At 14 minutes and 30 seconds, the noise started changing. The screen flashed a warning. Caleb reached over and tapped the control panel. The warning stopped. The line flattened. The sound evened out. 15 minutes. 16. The room stayed silent except for the engine. Dr. Lang leaned forward, studying the graphs. "What did you just do?" Caleb answered without looking away. "Balance the frequency offset manually." "Ow!" Metric and imperial units. They don't line up. The system's overcorrecting for tolerances that aren't there. She nodded slowly. "You notice that from logs?" "From sound," he said. Lars folded his arms. "It's stable now." Caleb checked the monitor. "Yes, 97.4% efficiency." Evelyn stared at the numbers like they were lying. "That's impossible." Lars turned to her. "Apparently not." The engine kept running. 17 minutes. 20. The air smelled like heat and metal. Dr. Lang said, "I've never seen readings that clean." She wrote something in her notebook. Evelyn took a step forward. "You didn't fix it," she said. "You got lucky. Anyone could have found that." Caleb didn't reply. Lars cut in. "Anyone didn't." "He did." He looked at Evelyn. "And your engineers failed." She looked back at him, then at the investors behind him. Their faces showed interest, not in her, but in the janitor. She tried to speak again, but Dr. Lang interrupted. "He's right about the calibration. It's an old mistake that happens when two teams use different systems. I've seen it before." The correction he made was precise. Evelyn's lips tightened. The machine kept running past 30 minutes. No shutdown. No error. Lars Becker put his hands together slowly, like he was impressed but didn't want to show it. "So, Mr. Ortiz," he said, "you fix in one night what 6 weeks of engineers could not." Caleb said nothing. Lars smiled. "I like efficiency." Dr. Lang turned to Evelyn. "This man works for you?" Evelyn forced a nod. "Yes, temporarily." Dr. Lang looked back at Caleb. "Not anymore." Evelyn's phone buzzed. The PR team was already outside, setting up the live stream she ordered earlier, expecting failure. She stared at the running engine and didn't move. The cameras would now capture her losing control of her own company. Lars Becker looked at her. "I want him to lead the diagnostic review. We'll discuss funding after." Caleb powered the engine down. It stopped clean. No smoke. No error. Just silence. He unplugged the cable and stepped back. "It's fixed," he said. Nobody clapped. They just watched him, not sure what to do next. Evelyn stayed quiet, hands shaking slightly, though she hid it behind her tablet. He packed his tools, zipped the bag, and turned toward the door. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Back to work," he said. "That's what you hired me for." Then he left the boardroom. The room stayed silent for a while. Lars Becker broke it first. "He just saved your company," he said. "You should probably thank him." Evelyn looked at the door, but she didn't answer. By 9:30, the boardroom was full again. Cameras, lights, microphones, all set up by the company's PR team. The words Atlas Dynamics Live Engineering Challenge flashed on a screen. Evelyn Drake stood at the front, pretending everything was under control. Her hair was perfect, her smile fake. The investors sat behind her, waiting. The employees crowded the hallway outside the glass wall, phones ready. Caleb Ortiz was in the corner, checking the same engine that had embarrassed the company for 6 weeks. He didn't look nervous. He didn't speak. He tightened 2 bolts, adjusted a wire, then stepped back. Evelyn watched him and said quietly, "When this fails, I'll make sure no one in this city hires you again." He didn't look at her. "Then you better hope it fails," he said. Dr. Sophia Lang entered the room at 9:45. She wore a gray suit, carried a leather notebook, and didn't waste time greeting anyone. She went straight to the machine and looked at Caleb. "You ran it this morning?" "Yes," he said. "Any changes?" "Minor adjustments." "You confident?" "Yes." She nodded once and turned to Evelyn. "He knows what he's doing." Evelyn forced a smile. "We'll see." At 10 sharp, the company's internal stream went live. Thousands of employees watched from their desks. Evelyn spoke first. "Good morning, everyone. Today we demonstrate the resilience of Atlas Dynamics. This engine, the Nova Drive X, represents 4 years of innovation and our commitment to excellence. Our team, including Mr. Ortiz here, will now show the results of our effort." She gestured toward him like she was presenting a tool, not a person. Caleb didn't respond. He pressed the power key. The engine came to life instantly, the low hum filling the room. The graphs on the monitor began to climb. 10 seconds in, all readings were stable. Evelyn kept talking, voice rehearsed. "This technology will define the next generation of autonomous transport. Atlas stands ready to lead the market." She smiled for the cameras. Dr. Lang interrupted her. "Efficiency at 97%, she said, looking at the data. "Temperature stable." She wrote it down. Evelyn tried to keep her face calm. Lars Becker leaned forward. "Better than yesterday," he said quietly. Evelyn nodded, but didn't answer. At 5 minutes, the sound remained steady. At 10, the air smelled warm but clean. The investors whispered in German. Employees outside the glass wall were recording every second. Evelyn's assistant whispered, "We're trending already." She ignored it. At 12 minutes, the screen flashed yellow. Evelyn smiled too early. "And there it goes," she said under her breath. Caleb didn't react. He pressed one key, adjusted a setting, and the line on the screen flattened again. Dr. Lang said, "Correction successful. Stable at 97.3%. The investors clapped quietly. Evelyn's smile faded. 15 minutes passed. 20. The engine didn't stop. The crowd outside started cheering. The PR manager looked at Evelyn. "Comments?" he whispered. She shook her head. Lars Becker stood up and faced the camera. "This," he said, "is real engineering." Evelyn's jaw tightened. Dr. Lang turned off the timer at 30 minutes. "That's enough," she said. Caleb shut down the engine. The hum faded. The graphs stayed green. No errors. No heat spikes. Silence filled the room. Dr. Lang looked at the investors. "Confirmed. Problem solved." Lars Becker smiled. "Perfect. Then we can proceed with the funding." He turned to Evelyn. "As long as leadership remains competent." Evelyn pretended not to hear the last part. She looked at Caleb. "You're not finished. I want full documentation on every change you made." He said, "I already logged it." She replied, "Good. Send it to me. I'll review it before you speak to anyone else." Dr. Lang cut in. "No, he'll send it to me." Evelyn turned to her. "Excuse me." Dr. Lang's voice was calm. "You heard me. I'm overseeing the report." Evelyn didn't argue. Lars was watching. The PR manager ended the stream. The camera light went off. The noise outside grew louder as employees realized what just happened. They'd been told for weeks the engine was hopeless. Now it was fixed by the man who cleaned their offices. People started cheering his name. Security tried to clear the hallway, but the crowd didn't move. Inside the room, Evelyn sat down. Her voice dropped. "You made me look like a fool." Caleb looked at her. "No, the machine did." She slammed her tablet on the table. "Don't get smart with me. You think this changes anything? You're still maintenance. You don't belong here." "Then fire me," he said. "Right here, in front of them." He pointed toward the glass wall. Dozens of people were watching. Her hand froze halfway to her tablet. Lars Becker laughed once. "You Americans make business very dramatic," he said. Evelyn didn't respond. Dr. Lang stood beside Caleb. "He stays," she said. Evelyn looked at Lars. "You're agreeing with this?" "Of course," Lars said. "He saved our investment. I don't care what his title is." Caleb packed his tools. "We done?" he asked. Dr. Lang said, "For now." He nodded and left the boardroom. The hallway outside erupted as he stepped out. People clapped, patted his back, asked what he did. He didn't answer anyone. He just walked straight to the elevator and pressed the button. The doors closed. Silence again. Back inside, Lars Becker told Evelyn, "You should thank him." Evelyn said nothing. Lars smiled faintly. "I'll take that as a no." Dr. Lang closed her notebook. "We'll meet tomorrow for the full review." Evelyn didn't look up. "Fine." As the investors left, Evelyn stared at the dark screen where the live stream had ended. The comments were still coming in, thousands of them. The janitor fixed it. Real talent ignored. Leadership problem at Atlas Dynamics. She scrolled once, stopped, and shut the screen off. The sound of the door closing behind her echoed through the empty boardroom. Caleb returned that night. The building was quiet. The executives were gone, and the janitorial shift had started. He used his key card, entered the boardroom, and turned on only one light. The engine sat on the table, wires still connected, casing half open from the test earlier. He placed his tool bag down and checked every log from the morning. The readings were perfect, but he wanted to be sure. He ran the system again. The sound filled the room, steady and low. He leaned close, listened to the tone, and watched the numbers. The vibration was balanced. He marked the harmonic point, 3,400 revolutions per minute, exactly where it should be. No flicker, no warning. The temperature line stayed flat. He let it run for 10 minutes, then 20. The air smelled clean. He powered it down, opened the panel, and tightened the bolts one more time. Then he sat in the chair and wrote his notes by hand. He listed every fix. Unit conversion errors, calibration offsets, torque misalignment on 4 bolts, cooling delay at startup. All corrected. He ended the note with one line. System stable at 97.4%. The door opened quietly. Dr. Sophia Lang walked in. "You're still here," she said. He nodded. "Just checking it again." She looked at the screen. "You trust your own work?" "Yes," he said, "but I like proof." She walked closer and read his notes. "You're precise. Habit. Good habit." She looked at him for a moment. "You know they'll take credit for this tomorrow." He said, "Doesn't matter. It works. You don't care about credit? I care about things that run." She smiled slightly. "Engineers usually care about titles." "I'm not an engineer here," he said. "Not yet." She closed his notebook, set it aside. "You will be." Lars already called Berlin. They want a formal proposal. He didn't respond. She continued. "He wants you to lead the diagnostic division once the paperwork is done." "Evelyn won't allow it," he said. "She doesn't have a choice," Dr. Lang replied. The building's lights dimmed automatically at midnight. The two of them stood by the table, the engine still warm. She said, "You know what made you find it faster than the others?" "They look for data," he said. "I listen for conflict. Conflict between parts, between systems. It's all numbers to them. To me, it's rhythm." She nodded once. "That's how real mechanics think. The rest just perform for investors." He packed his tools and zipped the bag. She said, "You'll need protection. Once this goes public, Evelyn will try to bury you." "I'll handle it," he said. "I'm used to being invisible." The next morning, the company cafeteria was full. Screens showed the replay of yesterday's live stream. The headline read, "Janitor fixes multi-million-dollar engine." The comments ran nonstop. Some employees laughed about it, some didn't. Evelyn Drake walked in with her coffee, and everyone stopped talking. She walked straight to her office, shut the door, and stayed there. Caleb entered the building at 8, same uniform, same badge. Security guards nodded differently this time. One said, "Nice job yesterday." He didn't answer. He went straight to the maintenance elevator and rode up to the executive floor. The engineers were already gathered in the lab area, whispering. When they saw him, they stopped. Tyler Grant looked away. No one spoke. Evelyn called him to her office at 9. He stepped in. She didn't look up from her screen. "Sit down," she said. He stayed standing. "You made me look incompetent," she said. "That's not my problem." "It is now," she said. "You want to play smart? Fine. You're assigned to support Dr. Lang's new review team. She's in charge of it. You'll report to her, not me." "Understood," he said. "Get out," she said. He left the office. Dr. Lang met him outside. "She's angry," she said. "Expected. You ready for the presentation?" "Yes." "Good. Becker wants it clean. No drama." At 10, they entered the same boardroom again. The investors were connected via video call. Evelyn sat silent in the corner, pretending to take notes. Lars Becker spoke first. "We have reviewed your report," Mr. Ortiz. It's solid work. The calibration issue is confirmed on both our German and U.S. systems. Thank you, Caleb said. Dr. Lang presented the technical summary. Lars interrupted halfway. You will oversee integration in Munich next quarter. Evelyn looked up fast. That's not standard procedure, she said. Lars didn't even look at her. It is now, he said. Caleb listened, said nothing. The investors approved the budget extension. Meeting ended in 30 minutes. Evelyn left without a word. Dr. Lang closed her folder. Congratulations, she said. He nodded once. She looked at him. You're still quiet. Talking doesn't change engines, he said. She laughed once short. That's true. By noon, the whole company knew the story. Messages flooded the internal chat. He fixed it. He's the guy. They promoted him. He stayed silent, kept working. The lab team asked him to teach the new calibration method. He wrote a short guide and sent it to everyone. No introduction, no thank you lines, just steps. The final line read, "Don't overthink what can be measured." At 3, Evelyn called security. "I want his badge access limited to the lab only," she said. They didn't question it, but HR saw the request and flagged it. Dr. Lang got notified. She called her directly. "You touch his clearance again, and I'll report it to Becker," she said. Evelyn hung up. By 5, the investors released a public statement. Atlas Dynamics achieves record efficiency under cross-department collaboration. Evelyn's name was at the bottom. Caleb's wasn't mentioned. He saw the press release, didn't react. Dr. Lang sent him a message. Don't worry. Real credit comes later. He replied, I don't need it. The machine works. At 6, he left the building. The sun was setting. Reporters waited near the gate. One shouted his name. He didn't stop. He got on the bus, sat by the window, and looked out. His phone buzzed with messages from people he didn't know. He turned it off. That night, he went back to his small apartment. He hung his jacket, placed the notebook on the table, and wrote one more line. System stays stable at 97.4% after 14 hours of runtime. Then he closed it, washed his hands, and looked at his reflection in the kitchen window. Same uniform, same face, different result. In the office, Evelyn sat alone. Her email inbox filled with congratulations she didn't deserve. She read them one by one and deleted them. Then she looked at the recording from yesterday. In a frame, Caleb was standing over the engine, fixing it while everyone watched. She paused the video there, closed her laptop, and turned off the lights. The next morning would bring the board audit. And for the first time, her name wasn't the one Becker wanted on the front of the report. The audit started at 8. The boardroom filled again, same people, different mood. No cameras this time, just laptops, printed reports, and tension. Evelyn Drake sat at the head of the table, pretending to read. Dr. Sophia Lang stood near the monitor with her notes. Caleb Ortiz entered last. He didn't wait to be invited. He walked to the table, placed a flash drive down, and said, all test logs and calibration data are here. No greeting, no small talk. Lars Becker joined through video from Berlin. His tone was formal. We reviewed your performance results overnight. The machine is stable. Efficiency is higher than projected. We want confirmation on how the error happened in the first place. Dr. Lang nodded at Caleb. Explain it. He opened his file. The engine was built in Munich using metric tolerances. The AI control system was coded in California using Imperial. The conversion mismatch caused timing distortion. That created harmonic interference and overheating. The system kept correcting for a problem that didn't exist. Once I adjusted the base calibration to match both systems, the reading stabilized. He paused. That's all. Lars said, simple, precise. That's how real diagnostics should sound. He looked at Evelyn. Why didn't your engineering team find that? Evelyn said, they focused on software integration. The documentation didn't specify units. Lars replied, and whose department handled documentation? She didn't answer. Dr. Lang spoke next. We'll implement Mr. Ortiz's correction across all prototypes. It requires no hardware change, just calibration alignment. Lars said, good. That saves millions. I want it done globally. Evelyn forced a smile. We'll coordinate that. Lars's tone sharpened. You won't. Dr. Lang will. Mr. Ortiz will assist her. The silence after that was long. Evelyn's hand tightened around her pen. Lars continued. Berlin is sending a new round of funding. 25 million, conditional on direct oversight by this team. He looked at Caleb. You will visit Munich next month. Understood, Caleb said. After the call ended, no one moved. Dr. Lang closed her laptop and said, We're done. Evelyn said nothing. Tyler Grant, the lead engineer, cleared his throat. We'd like to review your methods, he said to Caleb. For training. The files are on the server, Caleb said. Everything's logged. Tyler nodded. Appreciated. When they left the room, only Evelyn and Caleb stayed. She spoke first. You think this makes you untouchable? He said no. It just means the machine works. You embarrass me, she said. No, he replied. You did that yourself. She stared at him. Don't forget where you came from. You keep reminding me, he said and walked out. By 10, news of the audit spread across the company. The internal forum flooded with posts about the calibration fix. Some praised the simplicity of the solution. Others mocked the leadership for missing it. HR released a statement thanking all departments for their cooperation. No one believed it. Caleb spent the rest of the day in the lab, retesting every component. He worked quietly, checked readings, logged results. The younger engineers started watching him. One asked, How'd you figure it out? He said, I listened. The kid looked confused. Listen to what? The imbalance, Caleb said. Engines talk. Most people don't pay attention. The kid nodded like he understood, but he didn't. At noon, Dr. Lang came by. They want us in the press room at 2, she said. Becker's PR team drafted the release. You'll speak briefly. He frowned. Why me? Because you fixed it. They don't want my name on anything. They don't have a choice now, she said. The press room was small but full. Reporters from tech magazines, automotive sites, and local business papers filled the seats. Evelyn stood at the podium, smiling again. Atlas Dynamics is proud to announce the successful restoration of the Nova Drive X project, she said. This achievement highlights our team's resilience and innovation. She spoke for 3 minutes before Dr. Lang stepped forward. The technical resolution was completed under cross-department collaboration led by Mr. Caleb Ortiz. Cameras clicked. Evelyn's face froze. Caleb stepped up, said one sentence. We fixed a math problem that cost millions. That was it. Reporters shouted questions, but he walked off. Dr. Lang followed. Evelyn stayed on stage, trying to recover the tone. After the conference, Becker's assistant called from Berlin. Congratulations, she told Dr. Lang. The board approved Ortiz's transfer package. He'll lead diagnostics in Munich. Dr. Lang said good. He earned it. At 5, Evelyn called security again. I want every footage of last night's test pulled from the server. IT replied. Dr. Lang already backed them up to Becker's archive. She slammed the phone down. That evening, Caleb went home early for the first time in months. He cooked, ate, and read through technical manuals. He marked new ideas in a notebook, ways to stabilize engines under mixed calibration systems. At 9, his phone buzzed with a new email. The sender, Lars Becker. The message, you did well. Germany awaits. He replied, see you soon. Across the city, Evelyn sat alone in her office. The PR team had gone home. The building was dark except for her floor. She opened the company forum, scrolled through hundreds of comments, and stopped at one. It said, respect isn't earned by fear. She closed her laptop and stared at the glass window, reflecting her face. The company she built no longer looked like hers. At midnight, Caleb's report uploaded automatically to the central server. It contained every fix, every test, every result. The document name was simple. Harmonic correction, Ortiz method. Within 24 hours, it would circulate to every engineering division Atlas owned. At 2 in the morning, the engine in the lab was still running. It had been online for 18 hours straight. The monitoring system logged. Efficiency 97.4%. No errors detected. The janitor who wasn't supposed to touch it had done what 6 teams couldn't. The board didn't care about titles anymore. They only cared about results. The next week started with silence. No announcements, no meetings, no congratulations. Evelyn Drake stayed off the executive floor for 2 days. She worked from her office and avoided the lab. The investors had moved their attention to Munich, where preparations for expansion were underway. Becker's emails now went directly to Dr. Lang and Caleb Ortiz. Everyone in the company noticed the shift. Caleb kept his same routine. He clocked in at 7, worked in the lab, and left after 6. He didn't move into an office. He didn't ask for one. He stayed at the same workbench he'd used as maintenance. The other engineers slowly started coming to him for help. They stopped pretending not to see him. Tyler Grant came by first. "You got a minute?" Caleb said, "Sure." Tyler held up a diagnostic report. "The numbers look fine, but something's off. It's not matching with the test output." Caleb scanned it once. "You used the old calibration." Tyler looked embarrassed. "Right. I forgot." Caleb said, "It's in a shared folder. Update it and rerun." Tyler nodded and left. By Thursday, the same engineers who had ignored him were following his procedures. The new test results matched exactly. Dr. Lang updated Becker's team. "Implementation complete," she wrote. "System stable across all units." The Germans replied with one line, "Excellent. Prepare for transfer." Evelyn walked into the lab Friday morning. Everyone stopped working. Her tone was calm but sharp. "I want to see Ortiz in my office," she said. No one spoke. Caleb looked up from his screen. "Now," she added. He followed her upstairs. She closed the door behind them. "You've got fans now," she said. "People love a hero story. You think that'll last?" He said, "I don't think about stories." "You should," she said, "because I still sign your paychecks." "Not for long," he said. "Germany wants me there next month." Her face froze for a second. "You're not leaving without my approval." "Already cleared," he said. Becker signed it. She walked to her desk, opened a drawer, and took out a document. "You're still under contract here. You can't just walk out." He said, "Then sue me." She slammed the drawer shut. "You think you could talk to me like that?" "You already did worse," he said. She stepped closer. "You should thank me. If I hadn't humiliated you, Becker would have never noticed you." "Then thank yourself," he said, "because no one else will." She glared at him but didn't answer. He turned to leave. "We're not done," she said. "Yes, we are," he replied and walked out. Downstairs, the lab was running final checks before shipment. Crates labeled Munich facility lined the floor. Dr. Lang was on a video call with Becker's logistics team. When she saw Caleb, she muted the call. "Everything ready?" she asked. "Almost," he said. "Customs paperwork." "Cleared." She nodded. "Good. You'll leave with the second shipment." We'll follow 2 days later. At noon, HR posted a company-wide memo. Mr. Caleb Ortiz will be joining the Munich operations as Senior Diagnostics Engineer effective next quarter. The message didn't mention Evelyn. Employees forwarded it to each other anyway. The comment threads filled fast. He earned it. About time someone real got promoted. Finally, a win from merit. Evelyn read it in her office. She deleted it immediately. Then she opened her email draft to Becker. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a long time. She finally typed, "Concerns about Ortiz's transfer." Not the right image for the brand. She stared at it, deleted the line, and closed the laptop. That night, she attended a dinner with investors. People congratulated her for building a strong, technical team. She smiled, said thank you, and nodded through every compliment. No one mentioned Caleb by name, but everyone knew who fixed the machine. In the lab, Caleb stayed late to supervise the packing. Each engine was tested, sealed, and tagged for shipment. He checked the pressure values one last time, signed the forms, and handed them to logistics. One of the junior engineers said, "You really leaving?" Caleb said, "You'll be missed," the kid said. "No, I won't," Caleb replied. He finished at midnight, shut off the lights, and left through the service elevator. The security guard at the lobby handed him a package. "From Germany," the guard said. Caleb opened it. Inside was a new ID badge with the Atlas Europe logo and a flight itinerary. Departure, Monday, 6:45 a.m. Saturday morning, Evelyn arrived early to an empty office. She opened the company dashboard and checked the share price. It was up 12% since the fix. She scrolled down and saw a press article, "From Janitor to Engineer, the Man Who Saved Atlas." The headline burned. She closed the page, but it was too late. The article had already been shared thousands of times. She picked up her phone and called PR. "I want that story buried." The PR manager said, "It's everywhere. We can't stop it." "Then redirect it," she said. "Make it about teamwork, not one man." "Understood." By Monday, Caleb was at the airport. He carried one suitcase and his tool bag. No one from Atlas came to see him off except Dr. Lang. She met him at the gate. "You ready?" she asked. "Yeah." "Germany's colder than California. Machines don't care about weather," he said. She smiled faintly. "That's true." She handed him a small box. Inside was a metal tag engraved with the words "Precision Speaks." "For luck," she said. He nodded once. "Thanks." On the flight, he looked out the window and said nothing. He didn't read, didn't sleep, just thought about the noise of engines, the kind that never lied. When he landed in Munich the next morning, Becker's assistant met him at arrivals. "Welcome," she said. "The facility's waiting." Back in Los Angeles, Evelyn sat through the Monday meeting. The board congratulated her again. She smiled on cue. When the meeting ended, she stayed behind. She opened the window blinds. The city skyline stretched out bright and loud. For the first time, she didn't feel like she owned any of it. She turned off the lights, walked out, and didn't look back. Munich was cold and quiet. The Atlas Europe facility sat outside the city, a wide glass building surrounded by snow. Caleb Ortiz arrived at 6 in the morning and went straight to the diagnostic floor. The German engineers were already there, waiting. Lars Becker joined them a few minutes later. "Gentlemen," he said, "this is the man who fixed the impossible." They shook his hand one by one. No applause, no smiles, just professional respect. That was enough. The new systems were larger and cleaner than the California prototypes. Caleb checked every setup line by line. The Germans didn't talk much, and he liked that. They worked fast, followed every instruction, and asked questions only when necessary. By noon, the first test run began. The machine started perfectly. The readings matched his numbers from Los Angeles. Becker watched quietly. "Efficiency?" he asked. 97.4, Caleb said. Becker nodded. "Good. Maintain it." Dr. Sophia Lang arrived later that day. She walked into the lab, checked the data, and smiled. "Looks the same," she said. "Better temperature control," Caleb replied. "German insulation." She said, "We'll replicate this across all lines." "Already started," he said. Back in Los Angeles, Evelyn Drake sat in a meeting with the board. The tone was cold. The chairman read from a printed report. "We received a complaint about your conduct during the project," he said. She kept her face still. "What complaint?" "Internal emails," he said. "Language inconsistent with company policy. Disparaging comments towards staff." She knew what it meant. HR had leaked the messages she sent about Caleb. She said, "Old messages taken out of context." The chairman replied, "Doesn't matter. The investors are watching the public reaction." The German press had picked up the story. Atlas Europe's success driven by American engineer Caleb Ortiz. Her name wasn't mentioned once. She sat in silence while the board voted. They demoted her from chief executive officer to strategic advisor. Effective immediately. Salary reduced by 40%. She signed the papers without looking at them. 2 days later, an HR email went to all staff. Leadership transition complete. New policies on inclusion and merit-based advancement take effect immediately. No one missed the message. Evelyn's office was cleared by the afternoon. Security took her badge. She walked out past people who didn't meet her eyes. In Munich, the work continued. Caleb's team ran 24-hour cycles on the new engines. No failures, no errors. Becker walked the floor each morning, checked the readings himself, and left satisfied. One evening, he invited Caleb and Dr. Lang to dinner. "You changed more than a machine," he said. "You changed how we look at talent." Caleb said, "I just fixed a problem." Becker replied, "Exactly. That's what good engineers do. They don't talk. They fix." Back home, the story kept growing. Tech blogs, newspapers, and business sites wrote about him. Some exaggerated, some didn't. The video of the live stream reached 1 million views. The comments were brutal toward Evelyn. "Arrogance meets karma. You can't bully competence." That janitor saved her company. Atlas PR tried to spin it. but the narrative had settled. The company survived because of the man she humiliated. Dr. Lang stayed in Munich for the next 2 months. She and Caleb built new systems for the next generation of engines. She handled the reports. He handled the work. When they finished, Becker offered him a long-term contract. "Stay here," he said. "We'll give you your own lab." Caleb asked, "Why me?" Becker said, "Because you listen to the machines. Most people just stare at screens." Caleb said, "I'll think about it." Becker said, "Take your time. Just don't go back to people who don't know your value." In Los Angeles, Evelyn attended the company's mandatory inclusive leadership training. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. She sat through each session without saying a word. The trainer asked for examples of workplace bias. She said nothing. The trainer asked what leaders could learn from their mistakes. She said, to watch what they write in emails. The class laughed quietly. She didn't. By spring, the NovaDrive X had become the industry standard for efficiency. Every major publication credited Atlas Europe. Becker and Dr. Lang gave interviews about the future of smart mechanics. Caleb avoided interviews entirely. When journalists called, he said, "I'm busy." He spent his days on the floor, testing, writing, adjusting. One Friday evening, Becker's assistant handed him a sealed envelope. "From Los Angeles," she said. Inside was a letter signed by Evelyn Drake. It was short. "You were right. I was wrong. Thank you for fixing what I couldn't see." He read it once, folded it, and put it in his notebook. He didn't reply. At the same time, Atlas headquarters released its annual report. The section about the NovaDrive project listed him by name. Lead diagnostics engineer, Caleb Ortiz. The numbers spoke louder than any story. Efficiency up 15%. Cost down 20%. Market share rising. Stock price climbing. In June, Becker flew back to Los Angeles for a shareholder event. Evelyn attended as a consultant. They stood in the same room for the first time since her demotion. Becker gave a speech. He mentioned innovation, cross-border collaboration, and the importance of recognizing skill wherever it exists. Then he said, "Sometimes the person holding the solution isn't sitting at the head of the table." The room applauded. Evelyn looked down. Caleb wasn't there. He was in Munich, checking data from the new prototype. When Becker returned, he told him, "Your story's famous now." Caleb said, "I didn't write it." Becker smiled. "You didn't need to. Everyone else did." At night, the lab was empty. The engines hummed softly, running perfect cycles. Caleb stood by the control panel, watching the numbers scroll. He didn't think about the past anymore. He just made sure everything stayed right. The work was quiet, exact, and clean, just the way he liked it. By autumn, the snow around the Munich facility had melted. Production lines ran at full speed. Every engine shipped out with his calibration model inside. The engineers called it the Ortiz method. The name made him uncomfortable, but it stuck. Dr. Lang told him to get used to it. "You earned it," she said. "Names matter." He said, "Only if the machines run." Becker promoted him quietly. No ceremony, just a document and a handshake. Director of Systems Diagnostics. New office. New salary. Same gray uniform. He still ate in the factory cafeteria and checked every line himself. The Germans liked that. They trusted people who worked, not people who talked. He got letters from schools, magazines, and universities asking him to give lectures. He declined them all. One invitation came from California Tech. The subject line read, "From janitor to innovator." He didn't answer. He kept working. Meanwhile, Evelyn Drake faded from the headlines. She stayed with Atlas as a consultant, but the board ignored her. She gave interviews once in a while, talking about corporate resilience and learning from mistakes. The comments online were ruthless. She learned the hard way. The janitor taught her math. She turned them off. 3 months later, Atlas announced a new project, a joint European-American division led by Becker, Lang, and Ortiz. Evelyn wasn't on the list. Her name appeared in small print under strategic advisors. She saw the press release and closed her laptop without reading the rest. In Munich, the new engines passed every test. Efficiency hit 98%. Becker called it industrial poetry. Caleb said, "It's just numbers." Lang laughed. "You never change." Reporters kept trying to visit the plant. Becker finally allowed one short interview. They filmed Caleb in the lab, checking readings, turning wrenches. The journalist asked, "What does success feel like?" He said, "It sounds quiet." She asked, "Any message for people who underestimated you?" He looked at the camera. "They didn't underestimate me. They overestimated themselves." The clip went viral again. 1 million views in 2 days. The comments turned it into a quote. "They didn't underestimate me. They overestimated themselves." It appeared on posters, slides, business articles. Becker printed it and hung it in the conference room. Caleb didn't care. He went back to work. Dr. Lang retired that winter. Becker hosted a small dinner for her and the senior team. Caleb sat at the end of the table. When she stood to give her last speech, she said, "Every company needs one person who listens more than he speaks." Ours was Caleb. The room clapped. He didn't. He just nodded. After she left, Becker asked him, "You ever think of running your own department?" Caleb said, "No. I just fix things." Becker said, "That's why you should." The following spring, Atlas launched its first fully autonomous freight fleet in Europe. Each truck carried a plaque, powered by the Ortiz calibration system. Reporters called it a revolution in vehicle design. Share prices broke records. Becker smiled through every interview. Caleb stayed out of sight. One morning, an envelope arrived from Los Angeles. Inside was a short note on Atlas letterhead. "Congratulations on your success. The company owes you more than it admits." It was unsigned, but the handwriting was Evelyn's. He folded it and placed it with the first letter she had sent months earlier. He never replied. A week later, Becker summoned him. "You're going to California," he said. "The board wants a demonstration for the new investors. It's your design. They want to see you run it." Caleb said, "Does she know I'm coming?" "She's still on the advisory team," Becker said. "So yes." Caleb nodded. "Then I'll go." He landed in Los Angeles after a year away. Same city, different weather, same noise. Atlas headquarters looked smaller than he remembered. He walked through the lobby. People stared but didn't speak. Some recognized him from the videos. He went straight to the executive floor. Evelyn was waiting outside the boardroom. She looked older. The makeup was lighter, the tone quieter. "I didn't think you'd come," she said. "Becker asked," he said. "I follow orders." She hesitated. "I meant what I wrote." He said, "I know." "Do you hate me?" she asked. "No," he said. "You were just wrong." She looked down, nodded once, and said, "You fixed more than an engine." "No," he said. "Just the engine." The door opened, and Becker waved him in. The board was waiting. Evelyn stayed outside. Inside, the presentation was simple. One table, one engine, one test. Caleb started the system. The hum filled the room again, smooth and perfect. He let it run for 15 minutes, then 30. No errors. He turned it off. Becker said, "Ladies and gentlemen, that's the sound of precision." The board clapped. Caleb said nothing. After the meeting, he stepped outside. Evelyn was gone. The hallway was empty. He walked to the elevator, pressed the button, and looked out the window. The same skyline, same light, but this time, he wasn't part of it. He flew back to Munich that night. When he arrived, the factory lights were still on. The engines kept running, each one tuned to the same quiet rhythm. He placed his notebook on the desk and wrote one final line. "All systems stable." He turned off the monitor and stood for a while, listening to the sound of perfect balance. No applause, no audience, no words. Just the hum that told him everything was right. Then he walked out, locked the door, and left the lights off.